Good afternoon, students.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Today I'll explain the quick acting hormones and then I'll take a short test. Let me see, it's a will be based only on functioning of hormones. Slow acting hormones I did that day. Now I'm going to take up quick acting hormones today. I'll explain. And then a short test I'll be taking. As of now, let's see about quick acting hormones. Another 2 minutes, everybody join. Then I'll start with the how quick acting hormones work. Yes, let's see how many have joined. Beta, why are you all late to join? Hmm? Let's do it quickly. I'll just scroll down. You try and read once, then I'll start explaining. Try doing it. See this part. I'll keep scrolling. Try and read, try and understand, then I'll explain again. Now see this part. Once you've seen, let me know. I'll scroll it down further. Let's move to the last part now. So let's start now. Beta, make sure you keep a paper, pencil or pen with you if you really want to understand this concept. Okay? Because orally, if you try to understand, you will not be able to understand. So should I start? All ready? Sure. Should I start, Beta?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Let's start. I told about which hormones yesterday, which hormones day before yesterday rather. Which hormones did we do?
Slow acting hormones.
Slow acting hormones. And the reason why we said they were slow acting were because the receptors were not present on the membrane. Where were they present?
Inside the cytoplasm.
Inside the cytoplasm. So they have to pierce into the membrane.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, beta. So the receptors were present inside the cytoplasm, so they had to pierce inside the cell membrane. So and then in the cell, in the cytoplasm, they have to go and search for the receptors. So does it take time or it is done very quickly?
It takes time. It takes time.
Takes time. That is why they were known as which are hormones, slow acting hormones, and such kind of receptors which were present inside the cytoplasm. I give you a term. What were they called? Yes. Anybody? What were the receptors called? The ones which are present inside the cell.
Intrinsic.
Yes, Beta?
Intrinsic.
Intrinsic receptors. And I also gave you an example of an hormone which is a slow acting hormone.
Estrogen.
Yes. We took the hormone of steroid hormone. Basically, we took it as a steroid hormone. So I think two things you can very easily guess. If it's a quick acting hormone, that means it does not have to penetrate. And there's one more quality I told you which slow acting hormones should have. Because of two things rather, because of which they are able to penetrate the PM, plasma membrane. First is they are small in size, and second that they are soluble in
Lipid.
Fat.
yes. And that is the reason they could easily enter the plasma. Now I'm moving on to the quick acting hormones, children. Their receptors are present on the membrane of the cell. Number one, the receptors are not inside the cytoplasm. Number two, they do not go inside the cell because they get the receptors on the boundary only, so they do not enter the cytoplasm. And number three, they're large in size, so they do not penetrate the plasma membrane. So let us compare now. The receptors of slow acting hormones are present inside the cell, whereas the receptors of quick acting hormones are present on the membrane of the cell. Second now, the slow acting hormones penetrate the membrane, go inside the cell. The quick acting hormones do not go inside the cell. The slow acting hormones are small in size and they easily penetrate the membrane, but the quick acting hormones are large in size, so they do not penetrate the membrane. Got the three main differences? Because today I said I'll ask you a few things. I'll be taking a short assessment on action of hormones after this topic. So these three things are clear to everybody? The main three differences between slow acting and quick acting hormones?
Yes, ma'am.
Remember that the quick acting hormones always work with the help of another messenger, which is called as a second messenger. The first messenger are the hormones themselves, but hormones do not do everything on their own. They need another messenger. I'll explain it to you when I go ahead. Remember that they always work with the help of a second messenger. They always work with the help of what? With the help of a second messenger. I'll tell you how. The first messenger is your hormone. Your hormone is considered to be the first messenger. See the plasma membrane of the cells. Can you see this? See the receptor. This rectangular thing which I have drawn is the receptor. Receptor is present on the membrane or inside the cell?
On the membrane.
On the membrane.
It is present on the membrane. This triangular shaded thing which I have drawn is your hormone beta. This hormone will come and it will bind to the receptor over here. So this hormone is called as the first messenger. So who is considered to be the first messenger? The
Hormone.
Hormone.
which will bind to the receptor. Now both of them have binded. So this complex is known as receptor hormone complex. Is it okay? The first step is clear to everybody. The receptor is present on the membrane. Receptor is present on the membrane. Just on the membrane towards the inner side, we have this receptor. The hormone, which is also called as the first messenger, will come and bind to the receptor. So this binded structure, which you can see, this rectangle is your receptor, this triangle is your hormone. This is known as what complex?
Receptor
hormone complex.
Receptor hormone complex. Now this receptor hormone complex, it will stimulate something now. What is it going to stimulate? Some reactions on the inner side. Something is going to happen on the inner side of the membrane. This effect is called as the cascade effect. Remember this term, okay? This is called as which effect? Cascade effect. Again, this is important from competitive point of view. I'll tell you why it is called cascade when I finish the entire topic. I'll tell you why it is called cascade effect. This effect is called cascade effect. This receptor hormone complex will stimulate some reactions on the inner side. And because of these reactions on the inner side, multiple molecules will be formed. Many molecules will be formed. And these molecules are going to act as second messengers. So the first messenger is your hormone, which will bind to the receptor, form a complex. This complex will stimulate certain reactions. And because of these reactions, a molecule will be formed. That molecule will act as a second messenger. So how many messengers are involved?
2.
Yes, Veda, 2 messengers are involved. How? The first messenger was
Hormone itself.
the hormone. So hormone binded to the complex, we've got a receptor hormone complex. This receptor hormone complex will stimulate some reactions on the inner side and some molecules will be formed. These will act as the second messengers. Now try and understand. I've taken the example of catecholamines. To give you an example of quick acting hormones, I've taken the example of catecholamines. When I say catecholamines, I mean adrenaline and non-adrenaline. What do you know about adrenaline? Which hormone it is called?
Stress hormone.
Stress hormone.
So, do you need help immediately in stressful conditions or comfortably you can wait for help?
Immediately, ma'am.
Immediately. So, which kind of hormones would you need? The hormones which are going to help you in stressful condition. I'm talking about specifically adrenaline. So, should it be a slow acting hormone or should it be a quick acting hormone?
Quick acting hormone.
Quick acting hormone. That is why I picked up this example because it will be easier for you to understand. So we've taken the example of catecholamines. There is one more example. If you want, if you enjoy studying this kind of a thing, let me know. I'll take up the another one tomorrow. Today I'll take up this one. Catecholamines, I mean adrenaline and non-adrenaline. What is this? If you can identify these two circular lines were the membranes, if you remember. What was this complex? What was this complex?
Receptor hormone.
Receptor hormone complex.
Very good. Now, this is your receptor of adrenaline. I'm specifying the hormone now. I'm talking about which hormone? This triangular hormone. In general, I told you this. It could be any hormone. This triangular one could be any hormone and this could be the receptor of that hormone. Now, since I've taken a specific example of adrenaline, so I'm showing you this, that this triangular one, let me admit Sony, yes. Yes, beta. This triangular one is which hormone? Which example have I taken over here?
Adrenaline hormone.
So this receptor will be the receptor of adrenaline. So now you get a complex, which will be a complex of hormone plus receptor. That means adrenaline hormone and the receptor of adrenaline hormone. This complex is formed. I just told you after this complex is formed, it will stimulate some reactions inside. Some kind of reactions. Let us study about those reactions. See, beta, as soon as this hormone will bind to this receptor, there will be some changes in the receptor. As of now, the receptor was attached to the membrane. It was alone, so no problem. As soon as the hormone attaches to this receptor, there are some changes in the receptor. Because of these changes in the receptor, I have shown this receptor a little modified thing. I have changed the shape to show that there is some slight change in the receptor. Because of this change in receptor, it activates certain enzymes. this receptor is now going to activate enzymes. Let's do the steps. The first step was your hormone was released. Then hormone receptor complex was formed on the surface. Till here everybody is okay. First messenger was?
Hormone.
After the complex is formed, some changes will take place. What are the changes? The enzyme present on the inner side of the membrane now becomes active. The enzyme, if you can see this enzyme, this is present on the inner side of the membrane. This becomes active. If I'm talking about the hormone adrenaline, then the enzyme is called adrenal cyclase. Name the enzyme.
Adrenaline cyclase.
Yes, it is adrenal cyclase. Let me have the 5 steps again very quickly. Hormone is released. Hormone will bind to the receptor. A complex will be formed, which is known as hormone receptor complex. Your first messenger was?
Hormone.
After the complex is formed, there are some changes in the receptor, because of which the enzyme which was present on the inner side becomes active. I have shown this enzyme over here. If you can see this dark one. What was the name of this enzyme, beta?
Adenine.
Adenyl cyclase. Adenyl cyclase. Now, because your enzyme has become active, it will cause certain reactions to take place. Okay? And how did your enzyme become active?
By presenting on the inner side of membrane.
Yes, beta. Now listen. Again, I hope there is no confusion, but still I'll take up this part again. Your active enzyme is going to cause certain reactions. What will happen by these reactions? The ATP will break into two things, cyclic AMP and phosphate. Cyclic AMP and phosphate. What is AMP?
Amphibolic pathway.
Beta, AMP. When we talk about ATP breaking down into AMP, so it must be what?
Adenosine
What is it?
monophosphate.
Adenosine monophosphate.
Very good, beta. Adenosine monophosphate. And if you can see, plus 2 phosphates are released. So if ATP is going to break down into AMP, then how many phosphates will be released?
2.
2 phosphate will be released. Yes. And for this reaction to take place, magnesium ions are needed. Which ions are needed?
Magnesium ions.
Magnesium ions.
So when I explained in the beginning, I told you कि कुछ reactions होते हैं अंदर. बेटा हर enzyme के लिए अलग-अलग reactions होते हैं. I'm just taking the example of which enzyme to explain it to you.
Adrenaline.
Adrenaline.
Process will remain the same. वो process वहां तक same रहेगा. That enzyme will come. It will bind to the receptor. एक complex बनेगा. What is that complex called?
Receptor hormone complex.
Hormone receptor complex.
So your first messenger is going to be
Hormone.
hormone. So when your
Hormone.
hormone is bind to the receptor, where was the receptor present?
On the surface of the membrane. On the surface of membrane.
Very
On
good.
membrane
So when your
surface.
enzyme is binding with this receptor, you're getting a complex. And now there will be some changes in the receptor, because of which the enzymes which are present inside become active. In this case, which enzyme has become active?
Adenyl
Adrenaline cyclase.
Yes, it is adenyl cyclase. Now this adenyl cyclase, once it becomes active, it will cause one reaction to take place. And that reaction is breaking of what?
ATP.
ATP.
Once ATP breaks down, you're going to get two things. One is AMP and
Phosphate.
Phosphate ions.
how many phosphates?
2.
2 phosphates. Okay. Now, should I proceed with what happens next, or you want me to revise this thing again with you? If there's any doubt, let me know. If not, then I'll go further. What happens after AMP is formed? Tell me.
Ma'am, no.
Should I do this part? Okay, we'll do one thing. We'll first complete it, then from the beginning we'll revise once. So we are going to proceed
ma'am.
further. Yes, Peter.
मैम ये जो रिएक्शन हुआ था इसमें P और फिर आपने प्लस में 2P लिख रखा है, तो फिर इसमें क्या डिफरेंस समझ में नहीं आ रहा।
मैं ये बताया है कि फॉस्फेट रिलीज होंगे पहले रिएक्शन में, एंड सेकंड आपको स्पेसिफाई किया है कि कितने फॉस्फेट रिलीज होंगे। ओके,
ओके मैम।
ATP जब ब्रेक करेगा, AMP plus phosphates will be formed. How many phosphates will be formed? That I have
2.
specified. Yes, dear.
Okay, ma'am.
Why? Because it is AMP. Okay, let me scroll it down. We talked about the first messenger. Who was the first messenger?
Hormone.
Yes. Now we are going to talk about the second messenger. This cyclic AMP is going to act as the second messenger. Where did the cyclic AMP come from?
Breaking of ATP.
Breaking of ATP.
Breaking of ATP. And this breakdown of ATP was caused because of which enzyme?
Adenyl.
Adenyl
cyclase.
Very good. This enzyme became active because of the formation of which complex?
Receptor
Hormone complex.
Okay. This complex was formed of a receptor and an hormone. Which hormone are we talking about?
Adrenaline.
Very good. So I went ulta, and you could answer all the questions. Good. So your first messenger was the hormone. Your cyclic AMP is going to act as the second messenger. Now this cyclic AMP is going to do the further work, or the next of the reactions are going to be involved with the cyclic AMP. What will cyclic AMP do? It will convert an enzyme, protein kinase. Name the enzyme.
Protein kinase.
See, this protein kinase enzyme is already present, but it is in inactive state. So this AMP will go and activate this enzyme protein kinase into active protein kinase. Which was the first enzyme which became active?
Adenyl
cyclase.
Adenyl
Adenyl
cyclase.
cyclase.
And because of which, what was released, the second messenger?
Cyclic
AMP.
Yes. Cyclic AMP will also make an inactive enzyme convert into an active enzyme. Which inactive enzyme?
Protein kinase.
Protein
Protein
kinase.
kinase.
So this protein kinase will also become active. Now we are going to call it as PK active. PK active means protein kinase active. Now because this enzyme has become active, it will also help in something. This protein kinase active form will help in the conversion of another enzyme, phosphorylase. Name the third enzyme.
Phosphorylase.
This was also in inactive state, and now it will convert into active phosphorylase. It's a long chain. What was the first enzyme which was activated, children?
Adenyl cyclase.
Adenyl cyclase.
Adenyl cyclase.
And then we had a second messenger. What was the second messenger?
Cyclic AMP.
Cyclic AMP.
Cyclic AMP.
Cyclic AMP will help to convert which inactive enzyme to active form?
Protein kinase.
Protein kinase.
So this active protein kinase will again help another inactive enzyme to convert into active form. Which is that another enzyme?
Phosphorylase.
Phosphorylase. So your inactive phosphorylase is now converted into active phosphorylase. Before I go on to the third level of reactions, first tell me, we are talking about which kind of enzymes? Sorry, hormones?
Adrenaline hormone.
Adrenaline.
We're talking about yes,
Quick
we are
acting
talking about acting hormones. Are they small or big?
Big.
Big.
Okay, so can they easily enter the membrane?
No, ma'am.
Yes.
No, ma'am.
No, they cannot enter. So where are the receptors present?
On
the
the
surface of
membrane of
membrane.
cell.
The surface of membrane.
Such kind of receptors are called those which are present on the outer surface of the membrane.
Extrinsic receptors.
Extrinsic receptors.
Extrinsic receptor.
Receptors.
We are talking about a hormone adrenaline. It will come and bind to a receptor on the membrane, and now a complex is formed. A complex between which two things?
Receptor and hormone.
Hormone
Receptor
and
and
receptor.
hormone.
Hormone and receptor.
Because of this complex formation, there is some minor change in the receptor, because of which some reactions will take place. Okay, what will happen next? Tell me. After the
Breakdown of
complex is formed,
ATP.
which enzyme we talked about?
Cyclic AMP.
Cyclase.
Adenine
Adenine
Adenyl
cyclase.
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 Very good. So, because of this, ATP is now broken down into
Cyclic AMP.
Cyclic AMP.
Cyclic AMP into phosphatidyls.
so we have got our second messenger. Which was the second messenger?
Cyclic AMP.
AMP.
Cyclic AMP.
So what will this cyclic AMP do? It will convert another inactive enzyme into active enzyme. Name the next enzyme.
Protein
Protein
kinase.
kinase.
Protein kinase. So now you have got an active form of protein kinase. This will in turn again convert an inactive enzyme into inactive, which is the next one.
Phosphorylase.
Phosphorylase.
Inactive phosphorylase to
Active
Active
phosphorylase.
phosphorylase.
Active.
keep on revising. I'm showing you the third slide. We'll complete this
Excuse me,
reaction.
ma'am.
Yes, Rita.
Sorry to interrupt, ma'am. Pragya is in the waiting room. She's saying to let her come in.
Okay, let me see. I'll scroll down also by the time. Just give me 1 second. Beta, which was the last active enzyme you had after protein kinase?
Phosphorylase.
Phosphorylase.
Yes, phosphorylase. Now it has come in active form or it is still inactive?
Active.
Active form.
So if it is active, it will also help somebody. So this is going to help the conversion of glycogen. See, glycogen phosphorylase, another enzyme, the last enzyme, don't panic. Which is the last enzyme? Glycogen phosphorylase inactive. Yes. Into glycogen phosphorylase active. Same, inactive to active. Which is the next enzyme we are discussing? Glycogen phosphorylase.
Phosphorylase.
This was also inactive. Now this will also become active now. So this active glycogen phosphorylase, this is the last one. It has the power to break glycogen. The name is glycogen phosphorylase, the active form. This will break the glycogen into
Glucose.
phosphate, and then glucose phosphate, glycogen first breaking into glucose phosphate, and glucose phosphate further breaking down to glucose. Okay, let's start from protein kinase. Inactive protein kinase to
Active protein kinase.
Active protein kinase.
active protein kinase. Then what next? Active protein kinase will turn another inactive enzyme to active. Which one was it?
Protein phosphorylase.
Yes. Inactive phosphorylase to active one. Now next, what will that do in turn?
Glycogen phosphorylase.
Phosphorylase.
Yes, inactive glycogen phosphorylase into active glycogen phosphorylase. And this active glycogen phosphorylase will convert glycogen first into
Glucose phosphate.
glucose phosphate. And this glucose phosphate will convert it to
Glucose.
Beta, if you see, we are studying the process, it seems to be so long. And then on the other hand, we are saying that it is a quick acting hormone. I gave you a word in the beginning when I started explaining, and I told you isko last mein discuss karenge, and I'll tell you why this mechanism or this reaction is called so. Do you remember that word?
Cascade effect.
Cascade effect.
Cascade effect.
Yes. What was it called? Cascade. What does cascade mean in English? Any idea?
Bunch.
Yes, Peter. What does a cascade mean in English? Normal English literal meaning of the word cascade.
Stereotype something.
Ma'am, a process where something is passed on successfully, like information.
Stair like arrangement.
Yes. Stair-like arrangement means one after the other. One, then next, one, then next. That is what? Exactly what she also said, that one thing passing on to the next, next passing on to the next. And when we say stair-like arrangement, that is also a perfect description. Because in stairs, what happens? You've got one stairs, then we move on to the next one, then we move on to the next one. You can think about the ladder, one after the other when you climb. So that is a cascade. So why is it called a cascade over here? Tell me, why do we call it as a cascade mechanism?
Because there are many.
Because
one
it flows in
activates
a
the
cell, there are
other.
many processes involved.
Enzymes one after the another.
Yes, and they are all related. If the first one, see, you'll step on the first one, then only you'll reach the top. Exactly. If the complex will not be formed in the beginning, the complex will not be formed, the receptor will not be activated. The receptor will not be activated, the first enzyme will not become active. And if the first enzyme does not become active, then the other reactions will also not take place. So this cascade mechanism, understand why it is important, beta. One cyclic AMP. You remember your second messenger?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes,
One
ma'am.
cyclic AMP in 1 to 2 minutes can release 100 million glucose molecules in 1 to 2 minutes. In a time span of only 1 to 2 minutes, one cyclic AMP can release how many glucose molecules?
100 million. 100 million.
100 million.
glucose molecules.
Within 2 minutes, within 1 to 2 minutes, 100 million glucose molecules. So adrenaline will be released when there is stress. If there is stress in an individual, the person is going to get so much of extra glucose. And if the person is going to get so much of glucose quickly, this is how the person gets immediate energy at the time of stress. How many molecules of glucose is it getting immediately, the individual? From
100 million. 100
glucose.
millions.
100 million in how many minutes?
1 to 2 minutes.
1 to 2 minutes. So if this Beta, if this meeting gets over, please rejoin on the same track. So don't you think two things to be justified, and it is happening so quickly, within 1 or 2 minutes, the entire thing has happened, and the person is also getting a backup of how many glucose molecules?
100 million.
So normal cases, if I talk about the formation of 100 million glucose molecules, it is certainly going to take time. Here, by cascade mechanism, immediately by the release of which hormone? Why do we call it as a stress hormone? सब कुछ बहुत जल्दी जल्दी करवा दिया. This hormone has got it done everything so quickly. By which mechanism? What is that mechanism called as?
Cascade mechanism.
Cascade mechanism.
And it is so quick that within 1 or 2 minutes, there is a supply of about 100 million glucose molecules. In the beginning only you told me that, ma'am, adrenaline is a stress hormone. So if it is a stress hormone, we need immediate help. We need immediate support. We cannot survive with the help of slow hormones. So we need a hormone which is going to help us immediately. That is why we took up an example of catecholamines. What are catecholamines?
Adrenaline and
Adrenaline or
non-adrenaline.
adrenaline.
Adrenaline and noradrenaline.
Yes, that is why I thought this would be the best example to remember for a quick acting hormone, because that is the quickest part. You've done adrenaline in class 10th also. You immediately need energy to fight against a stressful condition. For example, give me situations which were mentioned in your class 10th book. Let me see if you
The
remember.
dog is after us and we need to run.
Yes, very good. That picture was given in your book, dog after you and you need to run. So can you tell the dog, please hold on, my hormone is going to take time to give me energy, then I will run. Is that possible?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No,
So
ma'am.
we need quick acting hormones, or we are comfortable with the slow ones.
We need
Quick
quick
acting
acting hormones.
But beta, all reactions in your body do not need to be carried out so quickly. So it is not needed that all hormones should be quick acting hormones. In some cases, we don't need quick acting hormones. I'll give you 2, 3, 4 minutes, whatever. Once the meeting gets over, I'll join again. And then I'll ask you questions first on quick acting hormones. Okay, beta? You can start revising. I'll scroll up. First, I'll revise very quickly with you, 2 minutes. Then I'll give you 5 minutes to revise. And then you let me know. We are talking about which hormones, beta? बहुत जल्दी जल्दी.
Quick acting hormone.
Quick acting hormones.
Okay, where are the receptors present?
On the membrane of the cell.
Do they go inside?
No, they do not.
What about the size?
Large in size.
Large.
And they always work with the help of a
Messenger.
Second
second
messenger.
messenger. Which was the second messenger just now, which I told you?
Cyclic AMP. Cyclic
Adenine
AMP.
cyclic.
Very good. What is this outer surface of what?
Membrane.
Membrane. This
Membrane.
rectangular thing. This is in general I'm showing beta. Huh? Then specifically adrenaline का example बाद में देखते हैं. So this rectangular thing is what are we representing by this beta?
Receptor.
And what is this triangle thing which is binding?
Hormone.
Hormone.
Hormone. So a complex is formed which is known as which complex?
Receptor hormone complex.
Receptor hormone complex.
This will stimulate reactions on the inner side. Multiple molecules will be formed. You just saw how many things were formed. And this entire thing will be known as which effect?
Cascade effect.
Cascade effect. This is in general. If you want, we can take up one more example some other day. As of now, we are talking about catecholamines, adrenaline and non-adrenaline. So this triangular hormone now we have specified. Which hormone are we talking about?
Adrenaline.
Adrenaline. So this is your receptor. A complex is formed. See, these are the steps. Hormone is released. Hormone receptor complex is formed. The first messenger is who?